And then came something that I think almost everyone experiences when they have a crush: jealousy. I feel like whenever you have a crush, there's almost always a third person who somehow enters the story. Now, you might be thinking I'm talking about his girlfriend. No, I'm not. I'm talking about a girl from my own school. She wasn't in my section, but she had been my friend since 8th grade, so we had known each other for quite a while. She already had a boyfriend, which is exactly why what happened next confused me so much. Whenever my crush was around, she seemed like a completely different person. She would talk in a much cuter voice. She would act differently. She seemed to put a lot of effort into getting his attention. At first, I genuinely thought maybe I was only noticing these things because I had a crush on him. But then something happened that made me question that. Before I had even shared these thoughts with my cousin or with my friend Tanishka, they noticed it on their own. Especially Tanishka. One day she looked at me and said, "Why is she overacting so much whenever he's around?" The moment she said that, I was like, wait, so it's not just me. That's when I realized I wasn't the only person who had noticed that change in her behavior around him. And honestly, that made me even more confused about what was actually going on. I kept telling myself that it was okay. As long as my crush wasn't giving her any attention, I didn't have a reason to worry. And honestly, he wasn't. He never seemed interested in her. She was the one who, from my perspective, seemed to be trying to get his attention. So I kept reminding myself so as to feel better that I'm not like her. If I like someone, I'm loyal to my feelings. I don't feel the need to chase attention or compete with anyone. So instead of constantly thinking about her, I decided it was better to focus on the person I actually liked. Throughout all of this, I wasn't keeping these feelings to myself. Every single day, I would go to school and update my two best friends, Yogita and Koshi. They knew everything, every little interaction, every new update, every overthinking session, every time I got my hopes up, every time I went home disappointed. They knew about all the emotional ups and downs I was going through. In fact, they probably knew even more than my cousin and Tanishka did, because they were the ones listening to this story almost every single day. Slowly, something started changing. Yogita and Koshi stopped trying to convince me to forget about him. In the beginning, they would always say, "Please don't do this. You have your board exams. Just focus on your studies." They were genuinely worried that I would get distracted. But as the days went by, they started realizing that this wasn't just a random crush that would disappear in a week. They saw how much I genuinely liked him. They saw how every single day revolved around whether I got to see him or not. They saw me rushing out of my science tuition just to catch one glimpse of him. They saw how upset I became on the days I missed him. And I think, at some point, they simply accepted it. They were like, "Okay, she really likes this guy. There's no point trying to stop her anymore." From then on, instead of telling me to forget about him, they just listened to all my stories. Every new update, every tiny interaction, every new emotion. They knew this wasn't something I had chosen. It was simply how I felt. And as my best friends, they decided to stand by me instead of trying to change my mind.